Hello and welcome to 3 Inning Fan, the podcast with me, Kelley Franco. It's Monday, September 30th, and tomorrow we officially start October baseball, and I couldn't be more excited. I just can't believe the regular season is over already. But wait, the Mets. The Mets are putting the Wild in wild card. Today, we find out if the Mets are in the playoffs or if they're making a tea time for this week. I thought about putting off the show, but there's a lot to talk about, so we're getting into it. We're going to do this show, and we'll do another one soon, I promise. And by the time you listen to this, you will know if the Mets are in the playoffs. Today, we'll do a preview of the wild card round and talk about some of the exciting storylines to follow. Because as you know, here on 3 Inning Fan, we don't focus on the stats, we focus on the stories. We'll also catch up on the Yankees and the issues facing them before the divisional round. Then we'll wrap up with some managerial hot seat news. And we do it all in about 20 minutes because the hallmark of the 3 Inning Fan podcast is also that we keep you up to date on all things MLB quickly and efficiently. And then you go out into the world and your newfound baseball knowledge gives you a godlike aura. So, the first rule of the postseason, the modern day postseason, since 2022 is that you throw the regular season out the window. Since the playoffs expanded in 2022, the postseason has taken on a tournament-like atmosphere, and the team that gets hot starting right now goes far. So 2 words about the Mets before they hop into their big day. They had a September surge, but in the last week, they kind of went cold and they missed some opportunities. It wasn't entirely their fault because Hurricane Helene wreaked havoc and was an intervening factor. But the Mets didn't quite overcome it, okay? But they pulled out a win yesterday against the Brewers, and now they are down to this doubleheader against the Braves today. And for the record, the Braves are in exactly the same boat. So now we have to wait for the outcome of today's doubleheader against the Braves to determine which 2 of the Braves, Mets, and D-backs will be playing tomorrow. I want to take a quick look back because the Mets have made some incredible adjustments this season, and I think they're really to be commended for this. So let's take a look at where they were back in May. They were terrible. They were giving up stolen bases right and left. Their pitching staff was walking everybody. Lindor was ice cold. And then you know what? They were proactive. They got Torrens to shut down opponents' running games. Manaea watched Chris Sale pitch and made a change to his arm slot and became an ace. Mendoza put Lindor in the leadoff spot, and he exploded, bringing not only much-needed offense, but also defense and a rallying energy to the team. And then they got Iglesias, and he brought some song to the team, and they promoted Vientos. Look, they responded to the challenges that they faced early in the season. And I think it's truly incredible because sometimes you wonder if the changes that teams make along the way actually make a difference. With the Mets, the changes made a huge difference. Now, the Mets' possible success, hopefully going into tomorrow and into the postseason, will all revolve around their pitching. Manaea, Sevy, Peterson, Diaz in the bullpen. But first, they have to win 1 game today. And this, I might say, is the year for the Mets to slay the Atlanta Braves dragon. The Atlanta Braves are damaged this year. Strider, Acuna, Riley, all out. This is the year to do it. Okay, we'll know more about them in just a few hours. So let's talk about the Yankees. They won the AL East. They clinched the number 1 seed in the American League, and they will have home field advantage at least through the ALCS if they get through the division series, of course. The next step in the Yankees' quest for number 28 starts this Saturday, and I will be at Yankee Stadium for that game. I can't wait. They'll be playing the winner of the number 4 seed Baltimore Orioles and the number 5 seed Kansas City Royals. If it's the Royals, it's going to be a throwback to those late 70s, early 80s playoff games between the Yankees and the Royals. What a rivalry that was for several years. And it was fierce and it was venomous, and I am here for it. The Yankees aren't playing until Saturday, but I want to cover a couple of issues facing the team. The main issue facing the Yankees right now is who will play first base. Rizzo fractured his fourth and fifth fingers over the weekend when he was hit by a pitch by Pirates reliever Ryan Baruchi. Come on, Pirates. What the bleep are you doing? Rizzo isn't ruled out for the postseason, although he could be. It's apparently an injury that he could technically play with, but it's a pain tolerance thing. And it sounds pretty painful, if you ask me. So the Yankees' choices for the ALDS are going to be number 1, a hurt Rizzo, number 2, Oswaldo Cabrera, 3, DJ LeMahieu, or 4, Ben Rice. And they have brought up Ben Rice, so it looks like it's going to be him. And I'm in favor of that. Considering that Rizzo hasn't exactly been tearing it up offensively this season, I would go with Rice over him. He did play some first base earlier this season and was sent down when Rizzo returned from his last injury. And since then, Rice has been solid in Scranton. So still, you would kind of hope that the New York Yankees would have better options going into the playoffs. But this is what we have, and they have to hope to catch some lightning in a bottle there. As a side note, Anthony Rizzo could have played his last game for the Yankees. The club has a $17 million option on him for 2025, which I can't imagine they pick up, at least not at that price. There is a $6 million buyout on it, so who knows? Maybe the Yankees negotiate a one-year deal to avoid paying $6 million for nothing. That is always the trick about the buyout. So I'm looking forward to Saturday and the playoff journey. Soto and Judge need to excel. Judge, in particular, needs to bring a ring home if he wants to be a Yankee legend. Yankee legends aren't made in May and June. They are made in October. As great as Judge is, his postseason resume is thin. In 44 postseason games with 197 plate appearances, he is hitting .211 with 36 hits, 13 home runs, 25 RBI, and 66 strikeouts. He needs to put this team on his back. Yankee fans don't generally wax poetic about A-Rod. I get it. But A-Rod did put the team on his back in 2009. He hit .365 in 15 postseason games. Judge needs to bring home a ring. Otherwise, his name will never be in the same sentence as Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Jeter, Mantle. Let's get outside the New York baseball bubble because we have a lot of teams to watch in the wild card round. And I want to give you a quick little spreadsheet on what to look for on all these matchups. Let's start with the National League. The Brewers. The Brewers won the NL Central, but as the division winner with the weakest record, they don't get a bye. So they'll be in the wild card round starting their postseason tomorrow against the Mets, the D-backs, or the Braves. You got to be impressed with how the Brewers handled the Mets this weekend when they didn't have anything to play for. If you're one of my regular listeners, you know I spoke about the Brewers a few weeks ago, and you have got to like them if you like old school baseball. They have fundamentals down pat. They get on base. They walk. They're third in walks in MLB behind the Yankees and the Dodgers. They steal. They had the most stolen bases, second most stolen bases in MLB this year, right behind the Nationals. They don't hit home runs. They were 16th in MLB in homers. They aren't glamorous, but they get the job done. Their manager, Pat Murphy, who will probably be the NL Manager of the Year, has made this team tick when it suffered with struggling from injuries, losing Corbin Burns to the Orioles, and he himself, Pat Murphy, was filling in the big shoes of departing manager Craig Counsell. And most importantly, the Brewers are playing well right now. What's their downside? They always look good going into the postseason. They've been there 6 times in the last 7 years, and then they always fade away. The Brewers have never won a World Series. They got there in '82 and lost to the Cardinals. That's their only World Series appearance. The Padres. The Padres are the number one wild card in the NL, and they will be facing, guess what? The Mets, the Braves, or the D-backs in the first round starting tomorrow. Why do I like the Padres? Because they have great starting rotation and bullpen. I mean, really strong pitching, largely thanks to GM A.J. Preller, who is not afraid to be aggressive at the trade deadline or in the offseason, or even when it's none of those. Remember when he scored Luis Ariz from the Marlins last May when nobody was even thinking about making a trade? It was May 4th. Unbelievable. Preller is a fan's GM. The starters for the Padres are Met killer Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Dylan Cease, and Michael King. Their first-class bullpen includes Tanner Scott and Jason Adam, both of whom I really wanted to see in New York at the trade deadline, but the Padres scored them both. This is a club that lost Juan Soto, Blake Snell, and Seth Lugo from last year, and they have only gotten stronger. One question is, how do all these guys perform in the postseason? I know Musgrove is good because I saw what he did to the Mets in 2022. The others, we'll watch. Oh, and their hitting, that's not too shabby either because you know what? They never strike out. Keep your eyes on Luis Ariz and rookie phenom Jackson Merrill. The Braves, well, we'll talk about them tomorrow, but they have been damaged by injuries and they're vulnerable if they get in. Let's hop over to the American League. The Orioles. The Orioles are a very interesting team to me, and not for all good reasons. They had a great 2023 season, only to be swept by the Texas Rangers in the ALDS. This year, their regular season was a little rockier, but they made it. Their offense totally ghosted them toward the end of the season, and they swooned, but they survived. They clinched the top wild card spot in the AL, and they will face the Royals in the wild card round. Corbin Burns will be their game one starter, but they are missing big name starters, Kyle Bradish, Grayson Rodriguez, and they suffer without those guys. They'll go with Burns, Zach Eflin, and Dean Creamer in the wild card round. And then the Orioles bullpen also has issues. They DFA'd Craig Kimbrell a few weeks back, and Sir Anthony Dominguez took over that role. He has postseason experience from his time with the Phillies, but he still sports a 4.09 ERA since he was traded to the Orioles on July 26th. But the Orioles have no choice but to lean on Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yenier Cano, and Danny Coulombe, who's back after elbow surgery, for their bullpen performances. But it's a bullpen you really can't bring yourself to trust. And the Orioles are still battling their offensive issues. It's funny, when you look at their offensive numbers for the year, the numbers are not bad. But that's because for most of the season, they were an offensive juggernaut. And then in the last month or so, their offense went completely quiet. The poster child for this lapse has been all-star catcher Adley Rutschman, who had a great first half and then became lost at the plate after the all-star break. The offense has ticked up a bit since the return of second baseman Jordan Westburg. He came back from injury, so perhaps they are on the upswing, so to speak. But the overall issue here is that the pitching on this team is not strong enough to make up for a slumping offense. So they better hope that offense pulls itself together. This team as a whole has limped into the postseason. So unless they do a 180 and turn it around, they will not make it past the wild card round. Let's look at these Royals who will be going into Baltimore. I like the Royals here, mostly due to the weaknesses we just went over for the O's. The Royals are headed to the postseason for the first time since they won the World Series in 2015. This appearance has been sponsored by the collapse of the Minnesota Twins. It's true. And I can't wait to see Bobby Witt Jr. make his postseason debut. Their starters are strong, and this could be really dangerous for the O's in a short season. The Royals have Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, and Michael Wacha. Michael Lorenzen will probably go into the pen for long relief. They're hoping Vinny Pasquantino, who broke his thumb on August 29th, can return for the wild card series, at least as a DH. The rosters don't have to be set until tomorrow morning. He is very much a part of the heart and soul of this team. The question is about the good luck charm. The good luck charm is lefty reliever Will Smith. Will he be back from his back injury and in the bullpen? I would hope so if I were a Royals fan and if I were superstitious. Why? Well, Smith has been on 3 consecutive World Series winners: the 2021 Braves, the 2022 Astros, and the 2023 Texas Rangers. I'm rooting for the Royals because I really want to see a Yankees-Royals ALDS matchup. And like I said, relive those fierce playoff games from the late 70s, early 80s. It will make for great drama. Oh, did you say drama? How about those Tigers? The Detroit Tigers, you've got drama. You're going to see the Tigers in the wild card round against the Astros. Why is this dramatic? 2 reasons. The Tigers are in the postseason thanks to an improbable season turnaround akin to the 1973 Mets. That's the first reason. About a month ago, they were 12 games out and had literally almost a 0% chance of making the playoffs. But then they surged and somehow won 31 of their final 44 games. This Tigers team, is the youngest in baseball. They have the likely Cy Young winner in Tarek Skubal, and it's going to be a gem to watch him pitch. What's the second reason for this drama? Their manager, A.J. Hinch. Hinch was the manager of the cheating 2017 World Series winning Astros. He served a 1-year suspension, and he couldn't hide his lion eyes. And now his team will be playing the Astros. Do I hold a grudge? Sometimes. Who do I root for? Tough call. But I would like nothing more than for the Yankees to prevail over the Astros in the League Championship Series if both teams get that far. And speaking of the Astros, the Yankees' nemesis is worse than the Mets' Braves. The Yankees have the Astros, and the Astros are in the Yankees' heads. And you know what? The Yankees are not in the Astros' heads. Let's call it like it is. It's best to have a championship run go through your nemesis so you can slay the beast. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. And no, I can't possibly root for the Astros against the Tigers. So I guess I just have to wait this one out. Who do I pick, though? I pick the Astros. Their starting pitching has more than one awesome guy like the Tigers. They have Framber Valdez, Ronel Blanco, and Hunter Brown. They'll be tough in a short series. Big question. Will we see Justin Verlander this postseason? Will he make the cut? He has a ton of postseason experience, but an 8.63 ERA in his last 7 starts. That is our wild card round preview. I want to finish up with some quick managerial news because we do have some interesting stuff happening here. The Reds, they fired their manager David Bell barely a year after giving him an extension through 2026. And this is news. Skip Schumacher, the manager of the Marlins, has told his players he will not return to manage in 2025. He was the NL Manager of the Year last year, and this will make him one of the hottest managers available this offseason. He is so good and so desirable, and the possible fit that is coming off people's tongues is that he will wind up with the Chicago White Sox. But honestly, personally, I can't imagine the White Sox ponying up the money that they would need to pony up to get a guy like Skip Schumacher. You know what? I can't wait for the offseason horse trading and free agent signings to begin. A couple other managerial hot seats you're going to want to keep your eye on. John Schneider with the Blue Jays, Bud Black with the Rockies, Ollie Marmol of the Cardinals. Oh, here's an interesting thing. Schumacher spent the first 8 years of his major league career with the Cardinals and was Marmol's bench coach there in 2022. Just saying. Did you hear this from the Pirates? According to Ben Verlander, Rowdy Tellez was due for a $200,000 bonus at 425 plate appearances this year. The Pirates DFA'd him. The Pirates DFA'd him at 421 plate appearances. This club will have a hard time getting free agents to sign with them, with stories like this going around. All right, we are ready for what's good to eat while watching the ball game. Let's close it up. It's fall, and it's time to cook cool weather meals that simmer on the stove or bake in the oven. And once the sun has set, they taste so good in your belly while you turn on that postseason game. So last week, I made the most delicious turkey chili with cornbread biscuits from the New York Times, Melissa Clark. She has the best recipes. You make the chili in like a saute pan, and then you put your cornbread dough right on top of it and put it in the oven. And what it does is it comes out like a giant chili cornbread casserole that you just scoop out with a big spoon. This is the cool weather cooking I am talking about. Oh, there may have been tequila consumed with this meal. It's always sad to say goodbye to summer, but it's the cool weather cooking that helps me get over the hump. As the playoffs heat up, be sure to find some of your best and coziest recipes to pair with these October games. Thank you so much for tuning in today. October's here tomorrow. Let's get through these playoffs together. See you next time.